All right, hello 7th grade. Welcome to day 3 of our review. So this is the last one we'll be doing until the quiz happens next week. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 appeals, logos and pathos and ethos. Before we start, here's how you do this review. Go ahead and go to Google Classroom and find the assignment called Study Guide. Then open up the Google Doc called 7th Reading Study Guide. On this Google Doc, I'd like you to type in your answers to the study guide's questions. As we go, look for the icon that looks like a book. Information by that icon is what's going to go into the study guide. I'll make sure to try and pause every time we get there and let you know that whatever we just talked about is an answer that can go into our study guide. All right, let's begin. So the logos, pathos, and ethos appeals are things we talked about near the beginning of our e-learning time. These are 3 tools that authors and speakers use for persuasive writing. So this is the first answer to the first question in the part of the study guide, which I believe is under a section labeled, or a heading labeled Logos, Pathos, and Ethos. All right, once we have that written down, we can continue. So how did the authors use these 3 for persuasive writing? Well, logos is a Greek word. And it's the word we got the English word logic from. As you can see, they both start with the same 3 letters. So, yes, logos does not refer to images that companies use to represent their companies. So like the golden arches or the apple, or Instagram's little app icon. That's logos, kind of with do you hear there's sort of a Z sound at the end of that word? Instead, we're talking about logos, which has more of a normal S sound at the end. Logos is the use of logic to persuade someone. So go ahead and write that down. So how does an author or a speaker use logos, the art of logic, to persuade somebody of something? Well, they might give somebody an analogy or an example. They might give someone statistics. In fact, statistics are a very popular way to get someone to believe what you have to say. Maybe you are like this. When you're talking to someone, you try to use logic to back up what you're saying. It resonates with a lot of people. I personally really appreciate it when people use logos to try to persuade me of something. All right, let's move on. Pathos is our second one. This is also a Greek word, but it's a little more intense. It means suffering and it means experience, and we'll kind of break that down a little bit more. But the basic definition is that pathos is the use of emotion to convince an audience to do something. So go ahead and write that down. Okay, how do you use pathos to convince someone of something? Well, authors use pathos to point out their suffering. Let's say you are trying to raise money for yourself. You're going to point out your suffering, right? Maybe your big dilemma is that you can't survive without coffee every day for the next lifetime. So you're going to point out your suffering without coffee so people will donate money to you. Or maybe on a more selfless note, you're trying to point out the suffering of something else, like the environment, trying to convince people to recycle. So you point out the environment and how it is suffering. You could also use pathos to make audience experience certain feelings. This is mostly what we think of when we talk about pathos. If you've ever seen that commercial for a dog adoption sort of, a shelter. It uses videos of sad-looking dogs and then the song "In the Arms of the Angel" in the background. It's all very sad and makes you feel very bad for these dogs, so that you'll be more likely to go and, adopt them. That is a great example of using pathos to convince somebody of something. All right. The last appeal is ethos. So ethos is a Greek word as well, and it's a Greek word for character. Now, this does not mean somebody in a book or somebody in a story. That's a different kind of character. If you've ever heard the phrase, you need to build character, or that builds character, the word character in that case means like reliability and trustworthiness. So naturally, ethos is when an author proves that they are trustworthy and reliable. They prove they know what they're talking about. Go ahead and write that down in your study guide. Okay, an author might have someone introduce their accomplishments. I'm sure you've seen this before. Some big celebrity is gonna come out and perform, or like do comedy or sing or dance or something, and the MC, the master of ceremonies, comes up before they go and they introduce them. They're like, "This is the best celebrity in the whole world. They have 20 Grammys and they get a chart-topping song every week. Here they are," and that's Ethos. The 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 artist who's going to come out and sing, they're not trying to build themselves up. They're not trying to say, "Oh, I'm so trustworthy and reliable." They have somebody else do that, and it makes us trust the artist a little bit more. An author might also use big words to prove their intelligence. If you want people to take you seriously, you have to make sure you're using proper English so that they know you know what you're talking about. All right. Let's now do a little bit of practice. I'm going to give you 3 statements, and each one uses a different appeal. So, our first one is this. I'm Dr. Linda Smith, and I've researched the benefits of going to the beach for my whole life. Which appeal does this sentence use? Is it logos, using logic? Is it pathos, using emotion? Or is it ethos, using or setting up a reputation? Go ahead and write your answer in the study guide. All right, next one. If you go to the beach for vacation, you will have incredible memories that will change your entire life for the better. Which appeal does this sentence use? Is it using logic, logos? Is it using emotion, pathos? Or is it using ethos, reputation, to convince you of something? And our last one. The beach as a vacation destination is simple, inexpensive, and 8 out of 10 vacationers recommend it as a great place to relax. All right, which appeal does this sentence use? Is it using logic? Is it using emotion? Is it using or setting up reputation? Go ahead and write your answer in our study guide. All right, that is the end of our review and of our reviews. Reviews complete. Excellent job. All right, before you finish up with your study guide, make sure that you go through, take a look at it, make sure it's all filled out, and remember, if you have any questions on any of those, questions, let me know. The study guide is not the same as the quiz, but many of the questions will be very similar, if not the same, taken from the study guide. So make sure that you know what is on the study guide, or rather make sure that you know your answers are good, because you'll be able to look at the study guide as you take your quiz next week. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining me today. I'll talk to you next week.